Okay, we are on Daf Mem Tessamraf. And is that correct? That's the Mishnah, yeah. Yeah, that's the Mishnah. Yismait ha'ochav. This, I don't think it's official lightsaber tonight, by the way, that's why. Yeah. For the base matter either, I'm saying, I don't think there's official lightsaber. Alright, Nismait ha'ochav mosifu mezake. If there's less food, there became less food. Now, it's not clear when exactly is becoming less food. Is less food occurring on Shabbos after you made the Eruv, on the first Shabbos, or is it happening on some subsequent Shabbos? Also, it's not clear how the food got diminished. Did mice eat it? Did the person eat it? Well, the Gemara will discuss some of these things. You add on food and you're mezaka more. You don't have to notify people you're adding on more. Now, since it sounds from the Mishnah that the food got diminished during the course of the following week. Because when Shabbos comes in, whatever food was there is sufficient for the rest of Shabbos. So I came to Shabbos Utra, right? So during the rest of the Pashas, the minute got diminished during the course of the rest of the week. And you don't have to let people know that you added on. If more people moved into the Chotzer, Mosif, then you add more food. Umizake, and you mizake to them, right? You give them a portion, and have to tell them. Says more Mamodia. What do you tell them? Halacha. You tell them the halacha. What halacha? Good question. Nobody knows. So the Rav Chaim Kanievsky, on the basis of the Korban Eidah, says that you tell them the halacha, not quite, but similar to Korban Eidah. He says you tell them the halacha that you're not allowed to carry, but I was mizaki l'chayil and therefore allowed to carry. The Pnei Moshe has a different girsa. His gear says, Mamodia hachola. Hachola means that, like kola, means to diminish or deplete. So you let them know it was depleted and that you added on. So you tell them not the halacha, but the hachola, right? Then Lieberman brings down Yerushalmi Eruvin. The Yerushalmi Eruvin, it's a remarkably uncharacteristic shot. He says, Mamodia halaba. Halaba, not to be confused with chalava. This is but you say halaba is a Rosh Tevis, and it stands for Harei Ze L'Cho B'nei Hamovi. Harei Ze is Hey, L'Cho Lamed, B'nei Beis Hamovi, Halava, and therefore what you're saying is that you tell them that you were mezakin to mechelik. You said raise the chol b'nei hamavli. He says even if you don't change the kids to leave it halacha, says the Yerushalmi Eruvin, so then it's still what it means is that you tell them this halacha, so you were mezakin to them. But he likes that Rosh Tevis. And finally, the Mashbiach has the most interesting shot. The Mashbiach is mamodia ochala, like achila. And he learns a very different shot, which I must say works out very nicely with the continuation where it says, Mamodia means not what does he notify them. He doesn't have to notify anybody of anything. They think there's an air fine, everything is fine and dandy, right? Well, what does Mamodia mean? What is our Mishnah telling us? Our Mishnah is telling us that achala, that the food got diminished by somebody eating it, right? Because otherwise, how did it get diminished, right? So that flows very beautifully with the rest of the Gemara. Leis hadar marah, doesn't this teach us? Doesn't this Mishnah indicate to us then? She'eno mizakolem begufo shel ochel, that he can whenever you're mizaka to the people food, you're not mizaka them in the body of the food. Because if you're mizaka them in the body of food, would you be allowed to eat their food? No, it's keso. But here our assumption is that the Balabayis, or whoever has the Eruv, ate the food. Mamodia achala, that he himself ate it between Shabbosos. It must be that he was mezaka them mechelik in the Eruv, that it didn't become actually their food, it was only a symbolic gesture. And therefore he has the right in the middle of the week to go and eat the food, which is laying by him to be the Eruv. Says more. Oh no, Rabbi Chanina. Rabbi Chanina says not necessarily. Tipoter shegodru achborim. Perhaps it's talking about not where he himself ate it, and he thought himself was not allowed to eat it. Rather, the mice carried it away, and the mice carried it away, and they ate it. So therefore, in the middle of the week, he has to replenish the supply from his own stockpile, which is a nice try. Okay. Kaloches, kama shiur, and what is the shiur? How much of the food do you need for an Erev Chatzeros? Bisman Shem Merubin, when there are many people who live in the Chatzer, Madam Shtei Sudas Lekula, the amount of food for 2 meals for all of them. Ubisman Shem Muatim, when there are few people there, Kigroigos to Kol Echad V'Echad, it's a grogeris for each one of the people in the Chatzer. What is Merubin and what is Muatim? Rav Amar Merubin Shivasar. Rav says a lot of people 17. Muatim Shisha Asar, a small amount of people 16. Why is that? Because in the Mosin of Shtei Sudas and the food for 2 meals, you have 16 grogros. And therefore, the moment you have more than 16 people, each person gains less than a grogeris. Because the threshold at which it stops, according to the Yerushalmi, the Bible says 18. According to Yerushalmi, the threshold which it stops is 16 grogros. Okay? Says Mar Rabbi Yochanan, Koshilu Yuchluku V'Yeshbo Kigrogeris Kol Echad V'Echad. If when you divided the food, there's a grogeris for each and every one, it's a typo here, the Korbanei changes, it should be muatim. Then they're considered to be few people. If there's less than grogeris for each and every person, merubin, then of course that's considered to be a lot of people. Have them boil them, and they wanted to say below plea, there is no machlokas here. Madam Rav, that which Rav enumerated, the difference between 16 and 17, that's like Rabbi Meir holds that in 2 meals there are 16 grogros. So for the moment you go over 16, it's going to be considered merubin because each person is going to get less than a grogeris. Madam Rabbi Yochanan, that which Rabbi Yochanan said didn't you make reference to the 16 grogros, but he said if there's a grogeris for each person, then that's merubin. If there's less grogeris for each person, that's muatin. It's because he holds like Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira will say later on in the next parak that the mosin of 2 meals is actually 16 kazesim. And a kazais is less than a grogeris, about 90% of grogeris. So therefore, if that is the case, so we obviously hold that even if you have less than 16 people, I guess about 14 or 15 people, maybe even 13, then that's already the threshold of what many of small amount of people is, because above that, you're going to start having less of grogeris for each and every one. Because again, the shiur of 2 meals is actually 16 kazaisim, not 16 grogros, which is 10% less. So therefore, at 10% less people, you're already going to have what's considered to be many people, and each person is going to get less than a grogeris. Now, how much has to be left in an Erev? Which is a very strange question, because it seems like the next bishop is going to deal with this. So I don't know why the Gemara is asking this. Either means on that Shabbos, and it's telling us as long as you have a mashul left for original Erev, then then no matter how much is consumed of it, you could still use it. Or it's going on the next Shabbos, and as long as on the first Shabbos you had sufficient, then next Shabbos it doesn't matter how much you have left. So common shorev, kai demar Rabbi Yosef, Rabbi Yeshua, just like Rabbi Yosef named Rabbi Yeshua, Ezov shiza paramachas, if you have a hyssop, which you used to sprinkle paraduma ashes once, kosher mikan ve'elach, kosher mikan ve'elach shirayim, from there on in, whatever's left of that hyssop branch with which you sprinkle, that's sufficient. You don't have to have a shiur anymore. As long as the first time you sprinkled it, you had a shiur, you don't need a shiur subsequently. So to here, once you made a valid Erev one Shabbos, for subsequent Shabbosos, as long as something left, that suffices. Okay? Now here again, as I said, when is this true? And when you initiate the Erev. Yeah.
It says first sprinkling, there is no shiur to the Erev.
No, first shiur there is. It's not brought down here. It's shorthand. In other words, according to the shiur, mikan ve'el shirayim, for there and in all you need is a remnant for the subsequent hazos.
Even though you're sprinkling something else.
No, paraduma ashes, but you're sprinkling on somebody else. On somebody else, or something else, yeah.
I think I got rid of the Ezo.
You also sprinkled with an azov.
The hazel becomes tummy.
No, it's a piece of wood. It doesn't become tummy. Or the person who sprinkles.
One use kind of deal.
No, I don't think so. You did burn azov with the paraduma. Besides that, when you sprinkle though, you sprinkle with a piece of wood. Two separate pieces of wood, obviously. Okay, Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yossi, where do you need to have a shiur of what is 16 gross or so when you initiate Erev? I'll be sure you, but at the end of Erev, a koshu. As long as something left, that suffices. And again, I don't know, perhaps the previous Gemara, which said basically the same thing, should have really been brought down after this Mishnah, as an expansion of this Mishnah. Now, why do you need Erev Chatzeros? In a place where there's shituf. According to Meir, why do you also need Erev? And we pass like Meir. Why? In order that kids should not forget. It's in order not to forget the concept of Erev Chatzeros, we always require Erev Chatzeros, even if there's a shituf mevos in place. Rabbi Yerushalmi Eruvin gave another word. Why do Erev Chatzeros made darkei shalom? Because of ways of peace. Ma'is b'shachas. Shahoisa devuvel chaverta. The ma'is is a certain woman who was brightest with her friend. V'sholchei ruah b'yabra, but she had to make an Erev anyway. So she sent the Erev to her enemy, b'yad bra, in the hands of her friend. So her alleged enemy, Gaste, she was affectionate towards him. Gafafte, she embraced him. She touched him and embraced him and shakti and kissed him. Asan, the kid, came back home. Amra Limi said to his mother, Amra. So the mother said, V'achin rachmali, my neighbor likes me so much, v'lo'avas yadatz, and I didn't even know it. I thought she was my enemy. Mitoch kach asu shalom. From this they made peace. All the pathways of Torah are meant to create peace and harmony, and Erev is for that purpose as well. And why it doesn't do that today is a very good question to which I have no answer. Neither nor Torah. But ideally speaking, the concept of Torah and the concept of Erev is to make peace. You can make an Erev Rashita with anything, with the exception of water and salt. If Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Shulmer, no. Kikor Erev, you must use bread, and it has to be a whole bread. And even if it's a large piece of bread, but it's cut, you can't use it for an Erev. On the other hand, Kikor B'Isser, if you have a loaf which is worth only an Isser, very small loaf, but it's whole, you can use it for an Erev. Person give money to a storekeeper or lenachtom or a baker. In order the baker should be mezaket to him in the Erev, with the bread or the wine which is being used for the Erev of the shituf. Dear Rabbi Lezer, the Chacham say his money doesn't work for him. If you paid money to the butcher or the storekeeper, it doesn't do you any good. The baker or the storekeeper, it doesn't do you any good. Why? The Gemara is going to discuss. But everybody agrees if you give the money to another individual, not to the storekeeper, and ask him to participate in the Erev for me via those funds, most of that. In that case, that works. And again, the Gemara is going to ask why there should be any different than giving the money to the baker directly. Shem Arvin all them elamidaito. You don't make it per person with unless he gives his consent. Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Yehuda said, when is this true? Beiruvit Chumin. That the only person can say Erev Tchumi because he stands to lose. He loses 2,000 amos in the direction. Ava Beiruvit Chatzeros by Erev Chatzeros, Marvin L'Daito Shlo Daito. You do an Erev whether you have his consent or not. V'shazach L'Lodim Shlo Fana because there's nothing to lose. It's a schus for that person. Then you got to do a schus for a person, even if you don't have his conscious approval or his explicit approval. Right? It's called shlo b'fanav. In chavilo, you do not create a debt against him, el b'fanav, other than in front of him. Okay, now gets complicated. Rav b'shem Rabbi Yochanan said, Nobody understands what this line means, except the mashbiach. He does a good job here. Got to give him credit. Yerushalmi Eruvin says, every so often, you can go for long times without using the mashbiach, and then he pops up with a good shot again, which you really can't ignore. It's very interesting. Okay, Yerushalmi Eruvin says, right, the way I'm going to explain according to Mashbiach, it goes very glad. It says, Rabbi Elazar's statement, who says that by Eruv, see, by Kadesh Yizklo Be'eruv, you see the stress on Eruv? Rabbi Elazar said in the second line on the page, must be it's a kula only in Hilchos Eruvin. If it's kula in Hilchos Eruvin, that you can give money to a baker or a storekeeper to do an eruv for you, so it must be it doesn't work anywhere else. If it doesn't work anywhere else, that tells us that that things where you have to make a kinyan meet the rice, that money doesn't make a kinyan, right? Here by Eruvin they're a mekel because it's a Rabbanan. But by things where you need a kinyan the rice must be that money can't make the acquisition for you. No?
I'm trying to think of examples where money would make the rice.
It's a big machlokas all over Shas, where the most kohen dvar Torah, Mashiach kohen dvar Torah. We in fact paskin most are kohen d'oraisa. Midrabanan they said not until you do Mashiach, but midrabanan does work. Okay. Hazav is the famous most prominent place. Bab Metzia and the fourth parak. Okay. Me'ata, if that's the case, afilu bolo eitzel chen pani. So it says, well, you know what, if it would just be make because it's Rabbanan, so why do you even have to pay? I'm just so a storekeeper. Yankel, give a bread for me to participate in there without having paid. Of course he'll pay after Shabbos, but in March from the Mishnah, so he has to pay before Shabbos. Why does he have to pay? Why is the payment critical, right? So it says, Marshanihu Shema Yishkach V'Yotzienu. The truth is you're right. Really, hypothetically, you should just be able to tell Yankel, the storekeeper, to participate in the Erev on his behalf. But we're afraid that Yankel's going to forget. If Yankel gets money, so Yankel won't forget. But otherwise, Yankel might forget and give the bread, which would have been used for the person's Eruv, to somebody else and not participate in his behalf.
Reuven's going to forget to pay him after Shabbos.
No. We don't care about that. He'll still have an Eruv. You could touch stuff away, but I don't know, Yotzienu, maybe, it might work. Rabbi Yaakov Shem Rabbi Chanina. Now it's actually a typo. Rabbi Yaakov name of Rabbi, not Chanina, but Hanani it should be. Rabbi Hanani was the son of, Lieberman points out, was the son of Rabbi Avo, and he said, Lo chen Omar, Abba lo Amar Kate. But the father, Rabbi Avo, did not say this. He wasn't medayik for Rabbi Elazar, on the conscience medayik from the Chachomim. El v'Chachomim lo zochel l'mosa, right? It says Chachomim say that money doesn't acquire through the Eruv, right? So Zosmer Shamos Konos Torah, that tells us must be that money acquires the Raisa. And here Rabbanan said it doesn't work, just like every else in the Torah they said it doesn't work, right? Money is the kinyan the Raisa, and doesn't work meet Rabbanan. Why doesn't most Konos to Rabbanan? You know, they used to have a kicking machine for people to kick themselves, because that you could use it now. Shema Yomelon Yisrafu Chitecha Baaliyah.
But that's Gemir Stas.
No, why is it Gemir Stas?
Because if I would know that the price would have...
After the fact, that becomes the Gemir Stas issue. All right, okay, fine, okay. I'll let you have the credit begrudgingly. In other words, most according to the Raisa, but then I might come to you and pay for metaltlin, and you leave the metaltlin in your loft, and later on when I come to collect, you say, oh, my loft got burnt up together with your chitim, right? So in order to prevent that kind of situation, so Chazal said metaltlin are not nicknamed except by Mashiach, right? So that's the situation. That's the case. So Rabbi Avo is medayik for Chachamim. So Chachamim here say money is not enough. It must be that they hold most are not kohen d'oraisa. She said midrabanan they barred it, right? They said it's not kohen. What do you get midrabanan with money? You put a down payment. You don't make an acquisition. More than that, a mishapora. Right? You get cursed if you renege on the deal. So it midaraisa, money works. Rabbana took it away. Shema yoyim lo nisu chitecha ba'aliyah. And here Chachamim will come and say, and even though Erev is the Rabbana, we're not going to let you get away with Kinyan Mos, right? That's a Rabbi Achar b'Shem Rabbi Chia said, Avalo Amarkein, El Chachamim lo zochel mosa, zosamer shamos kones dvar Torah. But not the Rabbana. They might work the rights, but not the Rabbana. Well, if that's the case, let me ask you, says Gemara, what does it mean? Why Chachamim agree that although if Reuven gives the money to the storekeeper, it doesn't work. If Reuven gives the money to Shimon, and says to Shimon, you give the money to the storekeeper, that does work. What's the difference? So it says Gemara very posh. The reason why that's true is because when Reuven gives the money to Shimon, and Shimon gives the money to the storekeeper is mezakeh to Reuven via Shimon. He gives the fruit to Shimon, who's making the Eruv, and Shimon is zoicha for Reuven. So that's good. But where Reuven gives the money directly to the storekeeper and doesn't take delivery on the fruit, there's no zechiyah. So there's no zechiyah, all there is Kinyan Mos. Kinyan Mos, Chachamim say, is not a valid Kinyan. Is that clear? That has to be the third point in order to get in the principle of Zechiyah. Okay, it says Gemara, quote from our Mishnah, She'em Ma'arvin Lo is a header, She'em Ma'arvin Lo Adamel Midaito. You make an error for person from Das. Masnisa Raimer. Raimer Ma'idei Eruv Ma'idei Shituf. Our Mishnah like Raimer. Raimer says you need both an Eruv and Shituf. Now, everybody goes crazy. What does that have to do with our Mishnah? Our Mishnah wasn't talking about Shituf. Our Mishnah was just talking about Eruv. Why equate Raimer is totally irrelevant. Raimer says that you need to have both Eruv and Shituf. That's nice, but it's not our Mishnah. So the Gilyon HaShas says a beautiful pshat here, which is completely sheker. It's Yofeh, but not emes. He says the girsa here is, I shouldn't say it's too strong a language, but it's doubtful. The girsa, he said the Yerushalmi had a girsa in the second line of the Mishnah on this page. Nosin of the Moav l'chenvani ulenachtom. You got to give your money to the storekeeper and to the baker. Why the storekeeper and the baker? Because what does the storekeeper sell you? The wine. What does the baker sell you? The bread. So it must be you're doing both shituf and eruv. There's a raya that our Mishnah is like Meir. They require both shituf and eruv. But it doesn't work out that's nice, but it doesn't work out with the rest of the Gemara very nicely. The way the Pasha gears, but B'shadi is like the Mashbiach. Mashbiach says simple. So Yerushalmi always misquotes things. We quote one half of the statement and we meant to quote the other half of the statement. There's a statement, Neira Meir somewhere, where it says you need both eruv and shituf, and the second part of that statement is that ain't Marvin law the Melami Daito. You have to do an eruv with the intent of the individual in question. The Yerushalmi just quoted one part, not the other part. And that's obviously the pshat here. You'll see in Amud Beis. Says the Gemara, once we're on the topic, we bring down, this is completely irrelevant, but they brought so many more times down in Masechta Eruvin. What the heck, why not one more time? Rabbi Zira b'Shem Rabbi Yechanan said, Rabbi Eruvin Utayin Tzibur Doagu Kol Rabbi Meir. By Eruvin and by Tayin Tzibur, everybody has a custom to be like Rabbi Meir. By Eruvin, it's that you make both Eruv and Shituf. By Tayin Tzibur, that you say Birkas Kohanim by Mincha and by Ne'ilah. Rabbi Yaakov said, "Av Megillas Esther Doagu Kol Rabbi Meir." By Megillas Esther, everybody also does like Rabbi Meir, and we read all Megillas Esther. Okay, back to our sugya. Now, Rabbi Yitzchak ben Chakula, interesting name. B'Shem Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya. Who was Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya?
We had him before.
Of course he isn't. Who is he? Rabbi Yonassi's grandson. His grandson. So, I forget what Rabbi's son's name was. Who was his grandson? So Rabbi Yehuda Nesiya said, I think it's Rabbi Shimon Bar Rebbe. Shimon Bar Rebbe, I don't remember. Anyway, Rabbi Nasir said, if you don't want to participate in the Eruv, that's it. We're just going to take the Eruv from you against your will. Tough luck. The Tanike. And we learned this. Now, I don't remember this as being in the Yerushalmi, in the Bavli. As far as my knowledge, it's not in the Bavli. And Lamaisa, we had the Shaila in Chicago. We don't have it, Lamaisa, Baruch Hashem. But once I was discussing this, Rabbi Trust, what happened if somebody who just didn't like the Eruv decided they didn't want to participate in the Eruv? So the Chorah would undermine the entire Eruv, right? Somebody of one of the certain type of orthodoxy, brand of orthodoxy, which is opposed to Eruv in his matter principle, decided to exclude themselves, so Pashas would be a valid exclusion, right? So now according to Rabbi Nasir, because Rabbi Nasir says he forces you to participate in Eruv. We compel you, no chachmas. So where's his proof? Tarike, we have Brisa. Now there it's going on the physical structure of putting up a lechi or koira. But if you can force the guy to do the physical structure, Mistami can also force to participate in the Eruv Chatzeros. Now ask Gemara, but Tani, wait a minute, how can you say this? Didn't we learn Brisa? They said to the guy, be mishtativ in Eruv. V'hu eino memayin, and he doesn't refuse, that's okay. Sounds like Hayim Emai, meaning this like Pnei Moshe. Hayim Emai sounds like if he was refusing, Kofi no so. Can we be Kofi for him? It sounds like Dafka Eino Emai. Person can only participate if he doesn't refuse. But refuses, it doesn't say Kofi no so. So how come you could come along and say that we compel him to do so? Rabbi Yudan says, Masisa Rabbi Meir. This price like Meir says, Ein Ma'avin Lo Adam Elam B'Daito. So this is where I see the Mashbiach is correct, that there was a quote in Ein Rabbi Meir, which Gemara didn't bother bringing down Ramad Aleph, which is Rabbi Meir himself holds that Ein Ma'avin Lo Adam Elam B'Daito. Says more, no, beautiful chat. No! I'm Rabbi Yesi Rabbi Vun, Tipata K'divrei HaKoil. You could say everybody agrees, even Rabbi Yudan the Seal holds you can be Koif on Eruv. Holds that if a guy refuses to participate in Eruv, you have to be Soich Rishus from him. Why? Because why does he refuse? Maybe Shehayat Stoiki. Maybe he refuses to participate in Eruv and say he doesn't believe in the Rabbanans. So he doesn't believe in the Rabbanans, so therefore he's not going to participate. So he's an Eino Moed Be'eruv. Because Eino Moed Be'eruv, it doesn't do you any good to compel him to participate. What do you have to do by him? Soich Rishus. So that's why this price holds you can't compel anybody to participate in Eruv because maybe it's Stoiki. Ask the Gemara, Vatani, didn't we learn Hashocheach? V'lo Irev, if somebody forgets it didn't propose to participate in Eruv, Ben B'Shoigei, Ben B'Mezid. If he forgets unintentionally or intentionally, Hareza Oyser, Divrei Meir, Koran Meir Yasers. Rabbi Omer Mezid Oyser. Rabbi says if he if he intentionally didn't participate in the Eruv, then he answers everybody else. Showing if he did it unintentionally, in Oyser, doesn't answer. Now, the Gemara asks on this, Mezid Oyser. Why is Mezid make it Oyser? Let's go compel him to be Mishtativ. He doesn't want to be Mishtativ in the Eruv. We'll compel him. We just said you can compel people to participate in the Eruv. So it doesn't mean he doesn't want, tough luck. Says Gemara, no, it's talking about a case, or maybe you'll say, I'm sorry. First Gemara says, so Elam Mishum Knas. So maybe say, well, we fine him. It's true, we could compel him, but since he didn't want to participate willfully, we fine him and we don't allow him to participate. Says Gemara, that's okay about him. Me'atahu Asr. But Chavero Mutter, let his friends be with it. It's mashma that if he didn't participate in Mezid, nobody can have an Eruv. Not just he can't have an Eruv, but nobody. Why not? Why don't we compel that? Why don't we? This doesn't compel him to participate vis-a-vis the others, even if he himself can't carry. So says the Gemara, I'll tell you why. We came Shulchan Arav Lo Irev. 1 second. Mikayim Shulchan Arav Lo Irev Kotzi Moso. So the Yerushalmi answers. This is about where they should have compelled him, but they didn't compel him before Shabbos began. So we find them too. They were negligent. They should have taken care of this before Shabbos. Since they didn't, that's where we find them as well.
whole idea of an Eruv is you're forcing him, you're finding him.
Well, a person doesn't want to make sholem on his own. We force sholem down his throat. What's for Abrera Havmir? Right? You don't want sholem? We'll give you some sholem. Okay. It's called rest in peace. All right. I understand, why can't I make a person participate in Eruv against his will? It's only a schus for him. For his schus, I don't need his will. We're mezakim, a chelik in there. What's the problem? He doesn't lose anything, Wyatt. So why can't I compel it? Right? I don't have to go to him and do anything to him. I just do it without his consent. What's the difference? Right? Savarai Meir says, Leisa dozachu. It's not a schus participant. Lo bo barnashi o chavrai lebeisei bar daite. Person does not want somebody else to have the right to come into his house without his permission. In other words, an Eruv diminishes my privacy, right? Right, because my Rishus Yachid is now encroachable by that individual. So therefore, we can't force a person to relinquish rights to his own Rishus. Rabbi Bob Ray, the Rab Papi B'Shem Rav Chaim Chanir said, "Ma'isa b'sha'ach shiur v'lechamoisa below died." There's a certain woman who made with her for her mother-in-law without getting the mother-in-law's consent. Ba'asu d'kum Rabbi Shmuel. Ma'isa came to Rabbi Shmuel. V'ikesh less and wanted to ask her the situation. On the way, Rabbi Chia said, "Kach shamati mi'avicha." No, Rabbi Chia said, "This is what I heard from your father." Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Yossi. As far as you can be lenient, Be'ervin be lenient, and therefore the leniency here is to say that you're zoich mizaka chelik the person there Baal Karcho, and that's what we did over here. In other words, we didn't have to ask the mother-in-law because they don't pass it like Rabbi Meir. Okay? Hajjal perachalo, new parak. Keitza mishtat from a mavui. Haidu shituf in a mavui. Meneach sachavis to leave the jug of wine or the barrel of wine. Vayim say I raise the chobnei iri. This is for oh, I'm sorry, I said mavi. Tchumen. Keitza mishtafim betchumen. I make an Eruv tchumen. Meneach sachavis vayim says I raise the chobnei iri. Let this be for anybody must see wants to carry. Anybody wants to go to the mourner's house to visit. Over to the base of Mishnah to be anybody who accepted this offer from before Shabbos began, Mutri is allowed to follow the parameters of the Eruv Tchumen. If it's after nightfall, also it's forbidden. There's no Eruv after nightfall begins. Ask Gemara, Lot Lisa Mizakun. It doesn't say here you have to be mezakeh. Why not? In other words, it doesn't say you have to be mezakeh there of tchumen for the people in the city. It just says put it there. Why don't you have to be mezakeh them? That I should come to you and say, here, be zoch and erev on the part of the on behalf of the other members of the city. Why is it not a necessary component of erev tchumen? By erev chatzeres it is. I'd be mezakeh to everybody else. A chelik takes two parties to perform that procedure. Why by erev tchumen do I not be mezakeh to anybody else? A chelik. It only takes one party to perform a mass erev tchumen. Says Mar Shmuel, Mar Tama Tlinan mezaku. There by erev chatzeres it says that be mezakeh. Tzarich lizkos. You have to be mezakeh. It doesn't explain. It'll be explained in a minute. Baram, however. It doesn't say you have to be mezakeh in a tzarich l'zakos. Rabbi Yochanan said, I understand. Amar kuli chumrin. Kuli chumrin means kavachomer. Ma b'dvar kavachomer davar. Ma inun taman shirvi chatzeres midavrim. Just like over there, they said by chatzeres which is the rabbanon, they have to be mezakeh. Atoimer mezakeh. Right? You say you have to be mezakeh. Eruv tchumen midvar toycha. Erev tchumen is the rice lo koshke. You certainly should have to be mezakeh. Why don't you have to be mezakeh? Just reinforces the question. So I'll tell you, Asid the Rav Rabbi Yochanan, that which Rav said, that Erev tchumen you have to be mezakeh, right? Rav didn't say it here. Rav said in the Bavli. Forgot. Korban says Rav says in the Bavli Eruvin that Erev Tchum you have to be mezakeh. That what you said to be mezakeh. So Rabbi Yochanan, because Rabbi Yochanan said Kavachor for Erev Chatzeros you have to be mezakeh. Certainly Erev Tchum you have to be mezakeh. However, Rabbi Yisrael Rabun Kedei Sos Kol Shriyas Achas. What's the reason of Shmuel says you don't be mezakeh is because by Erev Chatzeros you have to make all the Rishuyas one. That's why you have to be mezakeh. So it actually is a quasi-kinyan. But Erev Tchum is no such thing. But Erev Tchum has to be like an inn. A way stop. A way stop. You don't have to actually be makdeh to them a portion. So he's explaining why by Erev Chatzeros I need to be mezakeh. On the contrary, the default is Shmuel said I don't need mezakeh. I just need to have a way station by Erev Tchum. But by Erev Chatzeros it's different. There, since everybody has to form a corporate entity, that's where they have to use the principle of mezakeh and zachel anim shlo b'fanav.
You say it's a Chetzer.
Try.
The Tchumen is on the Chetzer.
Yeah.
And because it's there, and whether you participate, you go to that way out there or not is up to you. While the
Chatzeros
is a gavish because it involves all the people.
That's certainly a valid chiluk, but why should it be mechalik? That you're not explaining. You're a brisker. You're explaining what chetzer gavra, but no whys. So we have to explain whys. That's what I'm trying. That's what Gemara is explaining. That there, it's why it's substantially different type of transaction, substance, different kind of transaction. Trying to make a corporate entity, as opposed to here, where you just need people to latch on to the way station, regardless of whether they own a portion or not. The same click you're saying, just with it fleshed out a little bit. Okay, Kama Shuro. Now, we here tonight are not mathematicians, right? None of us are mathematicians, so therefore we're just going to gloss through this Mishnah. Kama Shuro. What is the shiur of Erev Tchumen? Shtei sus kol echad ve'echad. Everybody, 2 meals. Mizon l'chol what to eat on weekdays, and vavlo b'Shabbos, and what to eat on Shabbos. Do very mayor. Rabbi Yehuda made the exact opposite. L'Shabbos, what to eat on Shabbos. Avlo l'chol, but not what to eat on weekdays. Elu ve'elu miskam l'okan, each one has intent to be mekel. How so? The Gemara is going to discuss. Rabbi Yochanan broke Amar mikikar bepundion. When a kikar costs a pundion, when you have the Erev Tchumen is a loaf which costs a pundion when they're 4 seen in a cellar. What exactly those measures mean? Guess what? I don't know, and I know you don't care. So I didn't bother to figure it out. Rabbi Shimon Omer mishtei yados l'kikar, it's 2/3 of a loaf. Misholosh l'kav, when there are 3 loaves in a kav. Chetzi l'bayis hamenuga, half of this shiur is the shiur of when you of the amount of time you have to stay in a house which has saras in order that your clothes should become tamei. That's the amount of time it takes to eat such a loaf. Okay. The chetzi, and half of that, could they leave so is the amount of tamei food you have to swallow in order to make your body tamei. Because we say that anytime you swallow tamei food, midrabanan makes you tamei. Okay. Right now we explain why they don't argue, or why each one chose a different scale of measure. On a weekday, a chol, to leisei ma'alocho, when you don't have ATT, to ocho pizza tzivchar, he eats very little bread. B'shabta disu ma'alocho, when he Shabbos or his morning, ocho pizza sagin, he eats a lot of bread, it's accompanying his entire meal. So therefore, Meir holds a kula to determine how much you need based on a weekday meal as opposed to a Shabbos meal. Rabbi Yehuda made exact opposite. B'chula to leisei ma'alocho, on a weekday where he doesn't have much else to eat, ocho pizza sagin, he eats a lot of bread. B'shubsa on Shabbos Yisrael Malochi has a lot of other dishes on the table. Ocha pisa tifchar, eats less bread. So therefore, it's each one held, relatively speaking, that what Rabbi Yehuda held is advantageous to go after what to eat on a weekday because it's going to eat less bread on a weekday. That's Rabbi Meir. Rabbi Yehuda says it's advantageous to measure based on what he eats on a weekday because on Shabbos. What he eats on Shabbos, because since he has other delicacies, he eats more of the delicacies and less of the bread on Shabbos. Okay, so each one's looking for a cooler here.
I would think that the Eruv is having an effect on Shabbos and not during the Chol, and theoretically that's the 2 meals that you want to eat on Shabbos.
Right.
Shabbos means
Yeah, but they're saying that that's not why they picked that. That may because we're just because the more significant value is to have a is to have a loch and make a berben. Each one we want to try and get it to as cool as possible. Okay, it says Isachame. So Tani Kane, we learn Krovin Divraim Leo Shavin. Both Sherman and the Mishnah are similar. The shear of the amount of bread you need. There's more Isachame. Come on, give me a break. Come take a look. Ahein of Igula Treya Sarbain. One guy's talking about a loaf. Here's the word Igula. Second time we had it in Masechta Eruvin as a roll. Right? We had a few blad ago on Daf. I wrote it down back there, but a few blad ago we had it also as a roll. So one guy's talking about a roll which is 12 eggs large. Vaina Varigula Tamne. And the other guy's talking about a loaf of bread which is 8 eggs large. The Tamar, okay, you're going to say they're similar shiur, and they're not similar shiur. I can say they're similar. Ravuna Amar, same man shlish. No, the guy who's talking about a 12 loaf. Now a 12 egg loaf, a loaf the size of 12 kibbeitzim is really, when it gets to the retail market, only 8 kibbeitzim. Because he takes off a third of the loaf for his profit. Okay? So that's why it says Krovin Divrei Elios Elu. They're very similar shiurim in the Mishnah. Okay, says more again. Ravuna Mar Tzeman Shlishi Yitzir. Rabbi Yosef Rabun Nafak Lei Leila Nechtamaya. Rabbi Yosef Rabun Guel went and taught bakers in the city Kadod Ravuna that they can take a profit up to a third. Uchurkein Shira, but only like the shear, meaning a third and no more. That's the profit from the limit. Okay, guys, this is where I can prepare it up to, and I'm sure we're all tired after the tightness, so we'll stop here.